The only time I did reinvent myself from scratch out of choice was when I went from high school to college. High school, I was terrified of everybody, including, women. I couldn't talk to girls, couldn't ask them out. I was very shy. And that was what I was kind of known for, When I went to college, as soon as I got there, I reinvented myself. I just said, I don't want to be that anymore.
Hi, I'm Stacy.
And I am Mark, and this is the Gurus of Game Changers podcast. Welcome to the show, everybody. If you have been a fan of our show, you have heard some stories of some pretty amazing life experiences from people like Brandon DeShields, who chose a life that led him essentially to prison, to people like Nancy Hicks, who she chose to live a life very connected to God, very spiritual. We've reflected with Noorjahan Tourt on what her world-famous father instilled in her that shapes her to this day. We have explored addiction in some of the most fascinating ways with like J.K. Amizi and Brandon Novak and Paul Vecchione. We've heard crazy stories about legendary Hollywood A-listers from Nikki Stanzione. That's episode 1. Go check it out. And through it all, we've heard a lot of stories about people that had it all, lost it all, and somehow managed to engineer some incredible comeback and re-engineer their lives. So a lot of inspirational stories about resilience, a lot about reinvention. And everything I said is what makes this gentleman special today, because our guest today, Marc Boriosi, has experienced everything I just listed and unbelievably more. You're not going to believe it. I mean, getting blessed by the Pope, chilling out with the Dalai Lama, going to Illuminati parties, and rubbing elbows with gangsters, partying at the Playboy Mansion. And along the way, he followed his father's calling, and he himself became a counselor in the world of psychology. And he's been helping others overcome their self-limiting thoughts so they can enjoy their best lives. He's a proven master of reinvention. And he's going to help you tap into resourcefulness and the resiliency that you may not even know that you have, so you can transform yourself, transform your life. That's what's happening in studio today with Marc Boriosi. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
This is great. Happy to have you.
Thank you for coming, Mark.
Appreciate it. I do.
You've said, and I agree, my early life is crazier than fiction. Like disconnected chapters of a book. Someone was asking you, like, will you write a book? And
Yes.
you're like, not on my early life.
Right.
Maybe on my later life, because the early book's kind of disconnected. And you got to know some of the world's most legendary political figures, like doctors, lawyers, celebrities. Why and how did you venture into that world? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Probably started when I was younger, going to New York. If you've been to New York, back in the late, 90s and 2000s, the velvet rope where you can't get into places.
Sure.
The bouncer checks you and says no. Mm-hmm. So I was young back then, and I didn't really get into them. And then had this thought of getting on the other side of the fence. So I started going to some charitable events and started meeting some celebrities and people of that nature. And it wasn't long after that I started hosting parties. I hosted a cancer benefit for multiple myeloma, which my ex-wife's father passed away from, at a friend's loft in downtown New York. Philip Glass came to play.
Who were the celebrities who jumped into some of these parties? Did you start to get to know them?
Sure. Rich Voss was a common comedian there. Colin Quinn, Jim Norton, Jeff Ross.
Wow.
That's in New York. Stacey Pressman used to come out a lot. She's a comedian up in New York.
Was there somebody that you really wanted to meet that you had the opportunity and you actually talk to and hang with?
Oh, sure.
Hung with?
Different than I am now, but probably Alice Cooper.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was a big Alice Cooper fan ever since I saw him on The Muppet Show. So I, grew up really just listening to Alice for a long time. And then when I had the opportunity to meet him backstage at an event, I was nervous as can be, because I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to meet my childhood idol. And if he's a jerk, my youth is wasted.
They say never meet your heroes.
Right.
Yeah, but this was
He turned
different.
out to be one of the nicest human beings on the planet.
What is the Illuminati, and why and how did you get to a masked Illuminati?
All right.
Honestly,
Party.
because really, this is so...
It's topical.
And it's nuanced, and you don't really know. And if we're talking, is this something gonna happen to us if we talk about the Illuminati?
Not even
right?
a little bit.
Okay,
No.
Tell me about it.
It was an Illuminati-based party.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not the actual Illuminati, which you can
As far as
believe or
you
not
know.
believe. As far as I know.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it could have been. Yeah, you go to New York. You don't find out where you're going to meet until the time that you have to meet, but you have to dress to, like a tuxedo or impress, and then so I get a text. I go to this corner of somewhere in New York.
Wow.
A bus pulls up, and there's other people there. We all get on, and then champagne is provided, and then we drive for 2 hours. So no mention of where we're going. The windows are blacked out, so you have no idea what direction you're going. 2 hours later, we get to our location. It's a giant mansion. It's a gorgeous mansion in like an estate.
It's like a movie script.
Right. And then as you get out, there are like people dancing, fire dancers, some naked, and it's pretty surreal. And it's like walking to a Salvador Dali painting, to be honest, And you get in, and there's dinner provided, and then everyone gets a mask, different animals. There's people spinning on trapeze above dinner, and then they do like a little. And everyone, there was a special mixologist there making special cocktails for people, and they start this sort of like a show kind of thing. And then they tell a story, and then everyone gets up and you walk around the building, and then different things happen in different rooms. In one room, I know there was a girl in a cow costume in a bathtub of milk.
Hugh Hefner in the Playboy
Mm-hmm.
Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like, and how did you get there, and what we've seen the movies, we've seen like what's it like to really be there?
Hugh was at every event with his girlfriends, and girlfriends were nice, a lot of celebrities. To me, the best thing about the mansion was the food. I mean, they were, they had amazing food. The grotto where you swim. I was in the grotto 2 years in a row, which is just ridiculous. The mansion was old. There's a zoo, and and there's a game room, and it's all old pinball machines. So it definitely needed some updating, but I think it was sold since then. Probably my favorite story there was inadvertently running into Jason Statham in the grotto, and I was always a big fan of his.
Your doppelganger.
Thank you. And I was looking for somebody else, and I just boom, there he is, and he was having just enjoying the party.
Do you miss that world? You're not in that world anymore.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sure, yeah. The road less traveled.
Right.
When you have kids, everything changes.
So then where did you go after that? So like when did you decide to stop the whole I'm hosting parties thing, and what was the next step for you?
Stopped hosting parties when New York became more difficult to get to and get time off. I was going for a while, I was going every week.
So this was your side hustle? This wasn't even like your main?
Correct, yes.
What were you doing as your main job?
Back in those days, I was part of a third-party administrator for workers' compensation claims, which was the job in the business that got me in trouble.
Oh.
And the gentleman I did that with, he's no longer with us. He passed away while in prison. But he didn't even know I was doing the other thing, because I felt that if I brought the two worlds together, he would find a way to ruin it.
Right.
So there were times that I'd go to New York. I'd work at the office for workers' compensation claims until about 4:00, and I'd shoot to New York, which is about 2 hours. So 6:00, do what I'm going to do, and I'd be back by 8:00 the next morning.
Well, was this guy your partner?
To start, yes.
To start.
Yeah.
So it was your company, the workers'
Yes.
comp. Got
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So it's essentially the two of you, and you're doing this other thing. You want him involved, so you
Correct.
kept it from him.
Right.
But you did something together that landed you in
Yes.
trouble with the law.
Exactly. Yes.
Got it. And he died in prison.
Correct.
Did you know as it was happening that it probably wasn't a good idea?
Oh,
or,
absolutely.
Oh, you knew it?
Yeah. Where it went south was when my partner kicked me out of the company because he got a little greedy, and then realized that he couldn't do the job on his own, kept me on to manage the business and to pay the claims, but paid me fraudulently. Yeah. So.
But you had a feeling that was happening.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was like watching a slow car crash.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It was. There was. It was only going to end one way. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember the day that?
Oh, very well.
What happened?
Went to the office. 15 FBI agents came blasting in, and
Just like the movies.
it was. I actually said that. I said this is so surreal, and they're like, "Did you even know we had this many agents in this area?" I said, "No," and then I think I even asked if they could. Are you going to handcuff me? And they're like, "No," and I thought that was a letdown. But it was
letdown.
so like a movie,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And then everything was a whirlwind after that.
Yeah. You were in for 10 months?
10 months.
Is there something that it taught you?
more than taught me, because I think I knew. It was like I wasn't being me for a while. So it brought me back to who I really was. But acceptance, which is amazing, because I remember sitting in the holding cell before I went, and I just got calm. What happened was acceptance of of reality just overcome me. And then I just, breathed a sigh. I was like, all right, we're gonna do this. Then when I got out, I got into drug and alcohol treatment.
So you were doing drugs and alcohol were a part of your life, like heavily before you went in?
No, I'm not in recovery.
Oh, okay.
No.
So what made you want to do that?
Yeah, I use my experience quite a bit, who I've become, who I am.
Yeah.
And it's no secret that, my father taught me everything that I know, that I utilize. And it seems to resonate with a lot of clients.
I want to talk about your work.
Okay.
Right? Because you're helping a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people tune into us to sort of reinvent themselves. Look, you get to a certain point where you've invented yourself, and you get to a certain age and you're like, maybe I don't want to be me anymore. Maybe I want to reinvent and explore a tenth of what you've experienced in your life, right? What are you, I imagine you have a lot of people that you work with as a counselor that are share that mindset. What are you telling them?
First, decide what you want to become, what you want to do. Sure. Then you have to look at the reason you're doing that. If you're not fully motivated internally to change, it's difficult to do the work to do so. Where I come from is I've reinvented myself so many times that it's almost second nature. I've had to, sit there and go, God, who even am I? Because at some point you say, if you're divorced 3 times, the problem probably isn't them. I would say, seek counseling if you need help. To do that, to have a plan of attack, and but I'd have to know why. In your question, is there a reason why they're wanting to change, or are they just tired themselves?
Your book, The Compass of Self, Navigating Life's Paths and Passages. Tell me about this.
What it does the best is there are things in there that sort of help you understand who you really are. There's one chapter in there called "Are you ego driven, or are you insecurity driven?" Are you doing things to be better than, or are you doing things so people don't think you're less than?
Oh, it's interesting.
And it's a different way to look at that thing, because someone with a big ego is very flamboyant and all, but are they doing that to hide what they really feel about themselves, which I think is very common.
The first step in self-reinvention is?
I would say accepting or processing why you're doing so. And what does that entail? I mean, your life might change. Hopefully it does for the better. How's that going to affect other people?
Why do most people reinvent?
Oh, gosh.
Good question.
Why do they reinvent? Probably not satisfied with where they're at. Are you looking for an easy fix? Are you unhappy with your lot in life and how things are going that you think that suddenly reinventing yourself, if it's even possible at the time, is the answer? In my history with my reinventing myself, it wasn't necessarily by choice. I kind of was pushed into it, reinvent to survive in some aspects, The only time I did reinvent myself from scratch out of choice was when I went from high school to college. High school, I was terrified of everybody, including, women. I couldn't talk to girls, couldn't ask them out. I was very shy. And that was what I was kind of known for, When I went to college down in St. Leo University in Florida, as soon as I got there, I reinvented myself. I just said, I don't want to be that anymore.
How can we help you get the word out about your book, The Compass of Self, but also about your service?
Well, your show in the book, which helps, it's on Amazon.com. Other than that, I did change where I'm practicing now. I practice at a facility called the Aaron Center in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which keeps me very busy, thank God. And you just call there and make an appointment if you want to talk to me. I'm also doing things on the side now, specifically hypnosis. So I'll have an office for doing that on its own.
I can't thank you enough for making the trip out here for us and
thank you.
spending this time with us and sharing all the insights with our audience.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And thank you all. I'll see you soon.